right, guys, welcome to another live session of the Watercraft Journal. I'm your host and the editor-in-chief of the Watercraft Journal. My name is Kevin Shaw. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We have a really cool guest that I'm excited for. We're going to talk a little bit about inside baseball as far as product development, as far as the industry goes. Lots of really cool stuff. We really want to take a lot of your questions and comments because this stuff pertains directly to you, and conversations like these are what lead to future product. So we've seen that response when we've had representatives from Sea-Doo, Cowie, Riva Racing. We've had a really good response with these live sessions. So we're very excited to welcome today's guest. But before we get into today's guest, I'm going to go over a little bit of news as far as the magazine goes, as far as the YouTube channel goes, and then we're going to get into the conversation. So, content-wise, we got, obviously, new articles are written and published every day, Monday through Friday, at www.watercraftjournal.com. That is the magazine, entirely free, entirely subscription-free, no downloads, no passwords, all that jazz. That's old hat for you guys, you already know. For the YouTube channel, we've got some upcoming videos that are currently in the editing process. I just got back last week from a exhausting trip all through Florida. Did a bunch of house call visits with guys we're really excited for. We got to tour a bit of behind the scenes stuff for Riva, and Riva is growing. They are building new buildings. They're expanding. They are trying to do everything humanly possible to make sure that your customers' orders are processed correctly, quickly, get out the door, and you guys don't have any problems with it. And so they're building a new fulfillment center. They're building all sorts of new stuff, and we got a tour of that. They're also totally revamping pretty much the entire second floor of the main headquarters. So we got to tour that, and Dave takes us on a tour of that. That's actually really, really cool. We're going to have that for you guys. We also got to take a behind-the-scenes look at Galar Boats. Now, a lot of you guys don't know who Galar is. That's Galar. Galar Boats are those really cool ski boats that you park your personal watercraft, your Yamaha, Sea-Doo, or Cowie into, that latches down, and you can power your boat. Now, mind you, this is not a new concept. They've been doing these since the early 90s with the old shuttlecraft Sea-Doo boats. But those old Sea-Doos didn't have the power at all to move those boats at more than 10 miles an hour. They were junk. And all the mounting hardware was kind of crap, and they would break loose, and they weren't any good. But over the years, people have been trying to perfect these things, and you guys might have seen one company who was advertising on the Watercraft Journal a couple of years ago called Silver. And Silver, unfortunately, they were another victim of the COVID shutdowns. And thankfully, all of the manufacturing, all the molds, all the boat building and management got bought up and got moved from Canada to Florida. So everything is stateside. And now everything is done and built. Oh my gosh. I'm blanking. I'm having a total brain fart. What is the name? I have their business card. I'm going to look it up right now. That's who it is. Sonic. You guys know Sonic Offshore Race Boats, right? Sonic Offshore Race Boats. Sonic Boat Works. These guys have been around for 35 years, 40 years. All right. 140 mile an hour offshore race boats, twin blown Mercury, gnarly 1,200 horsepower, 1,500 horsepower boats. These guys are the boat builders for Galar. All right. So they're subcontracted. Sonic is making them for Galar, and all the materials, all the lightweight materials, all the heavy duty stuff that can survive out in the Atlantic Ocean going 150 miles an hour. These monster capsule race boats built by Sonic. They use the whole same team. I videotaped it. I use GoPros. Videotape. Look how old I am. But we videoed the entire process, the chopping process, how they lay up molds, the whole shebang, how they pair a hull and a deck together. We were there the whole day getting high off the fumes and all. It was crazy. So it was a really cool day to be spent with Galar boats, and that video is coming out soon. That's something I'm actually pretty stoked for, is the new Galar boats. So that video will be coming out in the next 2 weeks or so as well. So we got the Riva behind the scenes tour. We got the Galar boats behind the scenes tour. So that's actually pretty cool. We have a really, this is future stuff, but this weekend is going to be kind of a super pack of personal watercraft content developers. The Watercraft Journal is pairing up with Green Hulk, Greg Gaddis again at Green Hulk. Greg's been a guest on our podcast before a couple times. We always go to the Mudbug as well. But Greg is coming up to Tennessee. We're doing a photo shoot with Greg. And then coming in late is Joshua Dowling from Australia. He's going to be here this weekend and of Watercraft Zone. So Australia's Watercraft Zone, Watercraft Journal, and Green Hulk, we're all doing a big video session together. So hang tight for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. I don't even know what's going to come out of that. Well, I think we're testing 4 different skis. We're doing video for all these things. So it's going to be a heck of a thing. It's going to be a lot of fun. And all these guys are going to be fed a lot of Tennessee barbecue come hell or high water. All right. So that is that. We were able to do our intro in less than 10 minutes. That's a record for me. Guys, I'm very excited. I've known our guest for a long I'd probably say 6-7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've been a fan of the company that he's worked for. In fact, I was at one time a sponsored racer. Very proud to be working together with Slippery Wetsuits. But I want to welcome the brand manager for both Slippery Wetsuits and its sister company, Thor MX, which is motocross. And our friend, well, hell, just bring him on right now. Josh.
Hey, Kevin.
How are
you doing, man? Thank you. Hello.
My pleasure. Guys,
So,
well, I guess I should tee it off by introducing Josh Shorter. Josh is the brand manager, as I said. Josh, tell everyone about yourself.
well, I need to, before I get into that, I love talking about myself. Don't get me wrong, but
no.
no. 2 things I just wanted to, you're talking about aging yourself there. You've been a fan of Slippery for how long? Since, well, it started in 89, so it's been a minute. So.
Yeah, no. I was not there. I was not there when it started, but the first time the first time I put on Slippery gear was early 2000s, like 2000, 2001, when I did my first Catalina race.
Perfect, because I definitely didn't peg you as having been along for the entire ride. It's been a minute.
I would be 11.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Same here. So, yeah, thank you for that introduction. Also, a big shout out to Riva as well. I'm not trying to say that they're number 1 in Slippery, but they crush it with Slippery products. So everyone, please, when you're going to Riva, check them out. Check out Slippery there when you're in the need. But again, thank you for the intro. Kevin, we've been talking about this for a while. I'm really stoked to get on and just have the opportunity to kind of chat with everyone. In your space, all the fans and followers of the Watercraft Journal, doing it the best in the biz, for quite some time now. So we're always pumped to be a partner with you guys and really appreciate that. So.
Well, thank you. It's great to be working with these guys. I mean, it's interesting because I really was introduced to Slippery as a race brand and as a young 20-something racer, I was like, okay, this is what I need for race gear. I need a John and I need gloves and boots and yada yada yada. Mm-hmm. But as you and I were talking, and just kind of what's been really prevalent is Slippery's been able to kind of weather the changes in the industry. And we're going to get that into, in a little further in the conversation, but it's really cool to see the evolution of the brand and especially over the years. I mean, I think when I was introduced, it was Victor Sheldon and maybe 2 other guys.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh, the slasher. Oh yeah. Still a friend of the brand.
good.
Victor's, believe it or not, for anybody who's not following along, he's still pretty active in the watercraft community.
Yep.
Most recently doing stunt work on some some local, or rather between here and LA, film and TV stuff, things like that. So he's a household name when it's like, we need somebody who's crazy on water.
Right.
Slasher's like, oh yeah, I got
Yeah.
that.
Done.
So
He
I do it well.
also, correct me if I'm wrong. He's very active in mountain bike, and he puts on like mountain bike races and stuff. So
When
he's
he's
killing it.
when he's not hosting his own large scale races, series, things like that throughout SoCal here, he's busy winning national titles and just destroying anybody, any and all comers. Yeah. Victor
Crazy.
has.
Yeah.
I mean, his arc has been, from the watercraft racing scene to the motocross industry in a big way. And yeah, ultimately, as you said, and now into the mountain bike scene, very, yeah, it's really, really cool to see what he has accomplished. So yeah,
Yeah.
what a competitor. You can't beat him.
Dude. And such an athlete. The guy's crazy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
cool. That actually kind of brought up an interesting point. We keep talking about that relationship between motocross and watercraft. That's kind of where history kind of jumps off. The story of Slippery jumps off. You're looking at the late 80s, the major boom in watercraft racing, stand up guys, stand
Right.
up, two strokes, out there shredding. As we all like to say, you and I were just talking, motocross on water. I mean, we still
Right.
use that in the building, but it's
Right.
motocross on water. And it's something that we really can adhere to. Again, our building is shared between, water and terra firma, right? Dirt bikes and watercraft. That's what our building does well. That's what we all talk about. We're all affluent in. So yeah, backing up to the 80s, Thor had been around for 30 years at that point. And the guys at Thor then, full blown moto guys. Well, we're here in Southern California. We're still based in San Diego, where Thor was founded. In the summertime, the guys didn't want to go hit the track at 95, 98 degrees. They're like, hey, San Vicente is right over the hill from our office. Let's take our skis there. And what happened was they got tired of using surf product.
Yeah.
The original Slippery suits were actually Hang 10. If you guys remember, 60s surf culture.
Yes.
Hang 10 was still manufactured, whether it was here in Southern California or just across the border in Mexico between Ensenada. There's still a building to this day, and I know where it is, in the industrial part of Ensenada, about an hour south of San Diego, down into Mexico, that still has Hang 10 branding on the side of the building.
Wow.
That's where they did a lot of the production and stuff like that. So these watercraft, newer watercraft guys, motocross guys, really,
Sure.
but newer into the watercraft scene, they were just buying surf trunks, surf suits, surf booties, surf gloves, whatever they could, depending on weather, time of year, in the lakes, in the ocean, etc. And they were just getting surf stuff. And the very first Slippery catalog has Hang 10 wetsuits in it. So so it evolved from there. I wish I had one. It's in the vault at the office. I should have brought it here for reference. It's my mistake, but I love the history lessons.
Yeah, it's
but
rad. I love that kind of stuff.
Oh, it's so cool. It's such a trick thing to know. But then they're like, why are we buying stuff for surf turkeys? We manufacture motorized toy apparel, dirt bike apparel. We can manufacture stuff for jet ski racing, and that's how it kicked off, and that's what happened with it. So 86 was the date. We were talking about the years. It was 86. Yeah.
Okay. It was
so
86.
It just occurred to me. I was like, no, they kicked it off in 86 and so on. But yeah, it's been a minute. So
yeah. And everyone's wearing Oakley razors and
full mullets, full flat top mullets.
Oh, flat top with a mullet. And
yeah.
Like, well, I was gonna say OP shorts, but you probably Slippery had its own shorts, but
yeah, eventually. I mean, it grew, it grew and evolved throughout the years into the line it became today. Some things came, some things went. But that core of the line, wetsuits, vests, gloves, boots, tour coats, things like that. I mean, that
Yeah.
core, that's always there. And there's always
Right.
been kind of different products throughout the years. You know, if you look back to the catalogs, it's quite fascinating to see how it's evolved. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, I think, it's interesting because I mean, there's I mean, the other brands and all all the people who were tied with early jet ski racing and kind of those nascent years. And you pardon me, but saying, like, well, Oakley started with jet skiers out of a Ford LTD wagon.
Right.
He was selling those wraparound freaking razors out of his mom's station wagon
Yeah.
and selling them to jet skiers. And then it was like, Jet Pilot, he was making t-shirts. And then it's like, then it turned into a brand. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because it's like you start to see kind of these early evolutions and where those seeds sprouted into something that we know very commonplace today. I was gonna say, like, as far as Slippery and manufacturing went, they went from Ensenada, and manufacturing today is primarily out of Thailand, right?
Depending on the product.
Okay.
Yeah, mostly through the southern part, like kind of what you would say Southeast Asia.
Okay.
Is yeah, and yeah, it's important to note that actually more in the aquatic regions of
Yes.
Asia. It's like they do a lot of jet skiing deep into the mainland there, right? It's more into the waterborne or island regions there that
Right.
do all this kind of manufacturing.
But I mean, development, product testing, all that kind of stuff, that's still done in-house.
Yes, that
Okay.
from the ground up, from design through development to production, the marketing, the athletes had all that stuff does take place right here in Poway. So kind
Okay.
of central San Diego here.
Cool. This is something that we've exhausted in our reviews, both on the YouTube channel and on the magazine itself, is one of the biggest appeals of Slippery. And one of the things that has been major standouts is, number one, material choice.
Mhm.
The material choice has been by far so superior to everything else I've tested. Um, and number two is molds. And that might not sound like something that a lot of people would give a lot of interest to. They're like, I don't know what that means. And I think the best example I can give, most people are not going to wear a side entry race style vest. It's got a big, thick pad in the front, a big, thick pad in the back.
Mhm.
But I do go on rides where I see guys who are wearing side entry vests. And some of those, I'm not going to name names, but there's one in particular that is made out of canvas backpack material. All
Ugh.
right. I mean, it's brutal. And number two, the molds are slab sided. I mean, it's a sandwich board. The guy should be out.
Yeah.
I think of Bruce Willis on like Die Hard 3, where he's in his underwear with a sandwich board ringing a bell.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the
I
vest.
forgot about that one.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
most people only know number one. They might remember number two. The rest of them are all crap. But I mean, there's no contouring to a human body.
Mhm. Yep.
And I have 4 side entry vests, the Apex vests,
Yep.
that are absolutely contoured. And I'm like, listen, fine, I'll say it. I'm 35 pounds overweight. And I put this thing on and I feel like I'm Batman. I'm like, look at me, I'm badass.
Sure.
But it's like, how can, there, and I'm not trying to sit there and talk about all the nooks and crannies on these designs, but it's like the design effort that goes into it going, hey, listen, not every American is built like Victor Sheldon. So we need to design these things to fit people.
Sure.
And so a front entry vest, a side entry vest are some of the best fitting. And then it's not just neoprene, because some people are like, oh, I hate wearing neoprene because I sweat. But it's like this perforated, soft, like almost seal skin. And you're like, what the hell is this? It's nice. You're not. You can wear a t-shirt underneath it. You pull the vest off, and you're not soaked with like a vest outline.
Oh yeah.
And so when people ask me like, well, what vest do you like? I'm like, listen, I raced for 2 years for Jet Pilot, and I raced a year with Jet Tribe, and I keep going back to Slippery. All right. Some years I don't like the colors. That's me. But I'll just keep last year's or the one I have from 2 years ago. But
Sure.
then it's like, the next year I'm like, oh, that matches the ski I've got, or that is gonna, I like that color combination, or whatever it might be. But again and again and again, I keep going back to material used and the molding process. And I basically kind of want to be like, all right, tell me about it. I mean, I know it's inside baseball, but I'm interested.
Words out of my mouth, words out of your mouth, my mouth, whatever. That's how we kind of refer to that sort of behind the scenes stuff, right? The inside baseball of it. So yeah, you mentioned a few really important points. So kind of trying to timeline the thing as you start with the certification process. What's going to be allowed? And you and I talked about this, and that's, it is so important. I'm going to back up even further one step. Is that we're in Southern California. We're very fortunate here to have numerous environments for riding. So we've got open water, being the ocean, actually in the ocean, in the waves, etc. The lunatics jumping 30 feet in the air off those things. I'm good. I'm retired from free riding. So I'm good. Then we've got a couple great bays here on the ocean side. And then you're going to head inland, you head over the mountains to the deserts, and we've got the Colorado River. We've got a couple notable lakes like Havasu, World Finals, etc. So we've got a couple different environments here for people to go out and get their fix, or go racing, or or the freestyle guys. There's a good freestyle contingent still here in Mission Bay. I mean, guys that are every single Friday, out there. So shout out Tim Anderson. He should be listening right now. So anyway, but so my point being is that, we have to be cognizant of what is approved to wear on the water, right? So here in the States, USCG. Over in the EU, you've got to have CE certified. Japan's got their own certification. Australia's got their own certification. Indonesia's got their own. So it's making sure that we're building something around a product that's going to pass that cert, or for one, we can't sell it in certain markets, and for two, you're going to get popped for it. So pay attention, guys. I'm serious, because having spent a lot of time out on the lakes and the rivers out here, I've seen it. People being ill-equipped with wearing the wrong product. So just something that I think is really important. It's important to us when it comes to our baseline for that product. So first of all, it's got to be something that's certifiable and that can be sold and worn, and that's fine. Then when it comes to the material side of things, and I really appreciate you saying such nice things there, we spring for the nicer materials. I get that shelf appeal when somebody goes, I'll pop Riva again on this one. Hey, somebody goes into Riva and it feels like a burlap sack. Probably not going to want to put it on your body. So why not get the seal skin is a term we use, kind of, not a technical term, but like kind of that just nice feel and just that real supple neoprene to it, So yeah, our Neo vests, they're very comfortable. They look good. Like you said, they're molded. We didn't just sandwich board this thing into just hunks of floaty material, and just call it a day. We put some time and effort into that. And then to top it all off on the graphics and color side, that's where our team really shines. I mean, we've got many designers on board, and our guys they got to be ahead of it. I mean, we work 2 years in advance at least on when we're talking just graphics and colors. We're 2 years in advance. When you're talking an actual chassis, the actual physical product specs itself, I mean, we're 3-4 years in advance on that stuff to do this job. Here's a great example actually right here. This is, obviously our array vest, or side entry, as you pointed out, very much.
Guys, I have 3 of these things.
Yep.
I do. I love them. It's literally my new favorite vest.
It is super comfortable. It is that more race-oriented cut, more race-oriented fit. As you can see, as Kevin pointed out, everyone, the nice molded panels and everything, it really has just a great high-end appeal to it. But it's super simple in this particular season. You're looking at, oh, look, it's just got the great big S for the slippery, just the branding on there, simple. And then that color, man, I hate that color. Or it kits out with my ski perfectly. That's my color. I'm
Right.
keeping that. I'm
Okay.
running it. And then,
Well, yeah, you got choices. I mean, the couple things, and this is maybe I wasn't terribly clear, but you had kind of touched on it, was side entry vests typically are very slab sided. They're very just like a sandwich board.
Yep.
And the foam is actually kind of broken up into 3 or 4 pieces in the front. And what I liked about this was, like, my old race vest that I had, like my old like Jet Tribe or whatever, if I bent down, I would get hit in the face.
Oh, yeah.
It would kind of come up like a just clunk, and you're like, oh geez,
Yeah.
it gets you in the throat. And this one, you can double over and like reach into your storage and grab something, and it rolls with you. It's segmented.
Yeah.
So that's
Imagine-
that's kind of like, it sounds simple, but no one else is doing it. And you're like, this can't be that hard, but somehow Slippery's the only one who's like, hey, wouldn't it be great if it didn't hit you in the face? Oh yeah, that's a great idea.
If it worked with the human body, and
Yes.
especially and not just from just a comfort standpoint, it's like, oh great, it feels great when I'm just cruising around, whatever. Think about it in a high intensity situation like racing, or not even racing. Let's just say you're out for a joyride, and like you said, you're doing something where you got to stay focused on the fact that you're out there riding, and thing whacks you in the throat. I mean, you can't have that going on while you're out there trying to, you got to have heads up gameplay when you're out there. You got to be on point when you're doing this, right? So that's kind of, you bring up a really good point about that feature.
It was funny because I'll tell you, the vest, I literally want to get up, and because my closet here in my office is where I have a closet. I have a bathroom and a closet in my office here. And that closet is all of Dad's jet ski stuff. That's, the kids know that's where all the jet ski stuff is. And I'm like looking at all these vests that I have lined up, and I'm like, I don't need all these damn things. But I almost wanted to pull out, I can't remember, what was the name of the vest that Slippery had that it looked like the Christian Bale Batman?
That's your favorite all time. We've talked about this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh gosh, what was it? It escapes me. It was a couple years before I started with the company. The thing was wicked, though. The thing was super
so
cool. It was all
like
black,
body armor.
and it looked like Batman. It really did. Yeah,
it was one of the. It was so funny. I'm like, please never get rid of this one. I'm like, just promise me you'll never get rid of this one. And
it was kind of similar to that up there. And this brings up a really good point. We have to. You talk about, we're talking about product life cycle. Is, like I said, 5 years is a good kind of reference point when you're talking about life cycling and things that are timing out, right? End of life. Because of this certification process. Like I say, we have to stay ahead of it when it comes to cert. And once something is certified, once something is certified for USCG or CE or et al., it does time out. So once it hits that timeout, and generally for CE specifically is 5 year, USCG you can just re-up it. And I don't remember the timing for that, but anyway, kind of boring details. Development details. But yeah, so you have to, in a lot of cases, come up with that new fresh design, that new fresh mold, get the certification process done, and make sure it's legit. So.
Well, there's also the fact that it's like, you don't want the brand to be stale.
Well, yeah, that's for sure.
Because people are like, well, I didn't want that the first time. They keep trying to sell it to me 7 years later.
Sure.
So
yeah, and so that brings up a good point. We do our best to stay fresh with it, and it's a give or take every couple of years is when you see the newest graphics and newest colors and things like that. So it's about a 24-month life cycle for our products.
Okay.
Because frankly, it's a seasonal business per se, right?
Right.
In the dead of winter, not so many people getting out there. However, it's the opposite for our business in Australia and southern region stuff like that.
Right.
But the core of our business is definitely here in the States, definitely the EU. Japan does very well with us. So anyway, we're talking about that northern hemisphere in terms of seasonality. So yeah, we tend to move through. I mean, when you're talking, February, March, depending on the region, sun belt versus snow belt. February, March, it'll start kicking off, and then man, it's gangbusters through July, right? And then
Right.
when the heart of summer is done, it kind of slows down. So we have to kind of plan accordingly. We plan these calendars accordingly with those seasons. We have stuff available year round, but those are the hot months. We got to be sure to hit it with the newer stuff.
Okay, so that kind of leads me into something that is a little unique for Slippery,
Hmm.
in that a lot of people, when we do a review or they see a video of me wearing Slippery gear, they say, "Well, where can I find this? I can't. Where I go to the website and I don't know what to do." And that leads us, and I was actually going to bring it up here, was you go to the how to buy, and you can plug in um you can plug in your location.
Hmm.
And so let's type in my zip code. There are online dealers too. Okay, no dealers found, 50 miles. All right, so Factory Ride Off-Road Inc. They do give me a website that I can purchase. So a lot of people kind of scratch their head as to, well, what are my options in regards to um, finding slippery gear? You know,
This brings up a
there.
really good point. Yeah, what happens with our retail is, and I would say you're looking at between the difference between brick and mortar and mail order is about 50-50. Oh, and to
Okay.
point out, it's all through retailers. We don't sell direct. That's been a corporate policy from our parent company for decades. Is it's all about supporting dealers. It's all about
Yes.
going into the dealership, because that dealer, hey, you're going in there for your vest, but want to have that relationship, want to have a good relationship with the parts counter or whoever, getting the things you need and really building that. We still are big on that. I mean, mail order is mail order. It's huge. Don't get
Sure.
me wrong. I was an early adopter 20 years ago working in the mail order space. I know. But brick and mortar is great for building those relationships with your community, right? Getting that community of the shop, supporting the writers, supporting the scene, things like that. So that's kind of one of the biggest things about it. Another kind of point to make here, interesting point to make, is that Slippery is exclusively distributed through Parts Unlimited
Yes.
in the States, Canada, and Europe. We have other distributors in other parts of the world. Look it up accordingly, depending on where you are. But yeah, and Parts Unlimited distribution is power sports. So it's more the dealers that are focused on off-road vehicles and watercraft, that type of atmosphere, not boat shops. And I know that which is it changed a lot in 30 years. In 30 years ago, it was you bought your Kawasaki jet ski at the Kawasaki motocross dealer. There was
Yeah.
much more closely aligned. We talked about dirt bikes on water, MX on water. They were so much more closely aligned at the onset of the watercraft industry as the PWC industry as you know it today. Well, fast forward through time, and it's a lot more aligned with boating dealers, I think. There are still, Kawasaki and Yamaha dealers that are heavy into the watercraft market, but those are the guys. And anyone out there listening looking to get into some slippery gear, go to your power sports dealer for slippery. Those guys got it or can get it. Those are the ones to get it from. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, I think that's it's interesting because that parallels a lot of what corporate Yamaha, Sea-Doo, Cowie are doing, wherein they really want to make the dealer the focal point of interaction
Mhm.
with the customer. So it marries your product with that same experience.
Yep. That's I grew up spending spending my afternoons at the local moto dealers out here in San Diego. and then ultimately worked at 2 of them before getting onto this side of the business. And so for me, hey, it's a passion thing for me. On the business side of things, again, I was instrumental in launching one of the earliest mail order uh, guys that's still around, still huge business. So, I was an early adopter to that stuff. I see the value in that. I completely understand that. And that's why I say it's nice to see in this day and age that 20 some years on with the mail order thing, specifically through websites, not just catalog mail order. That's been forever, right? But it's nice to see that still a good balance between the two, mail order and brick and mortar.
Right.
I'll always be a brick and mortar guy at heart because of those relationships and because it's part of your scene. It's part of supporting what's going on in your own backyard.
It's funny. I literally just had this conversation. Oh, who was I talking with? But he made a really good point. He goes, yeah, I could put all my stuff up on Amazon and I'm sure I would have tremendous success. He says, but that's not the point. He says, my point is I want my product to be tied to it was automotive because we have the car magazine. He's like, I could put all this stuff up on Amazon and that's great, but I want people to be able to go into the speed shop or go into these things that he felt very strongly built to the experience of being a car guy and building their car. They could go in there and they could talk with some people and go, okay, yeah, a Jegs, even though Jegs is mail and digital, and same thing with Summit, you can go into a Summit store and you could buy this guy's carburetor kit. Right. And it was interesting because in that same vein, yeah, Slippery could put everything up on Amazon, but at the same time, it's like, but you're cutting out that very pertinent part of the experience and part of the industry, which is the dealer.
Yep.
So,
and that's not the end all be all. Like I said, that's why I'm always quick to point out that's just a personal thing for me. Right. It's a personal attachment I have to brick and mortar. I'm not saying there's never going to be a shopping cart on the Slippery website. There's no plans for it in the immediate future. I can tell you that. But hey, someday it can evolve. Everyone's got to be open to that. And like I said, I understand the value in mail order, and I can appreciate the balance therein. Because hey, sometimes that shop down the street isn't going to have what you need. Right. Shop can't carry everything. They got the essentials. They can cover you, but it's tough to carry everything these days. So
okay, yep. We just got a super chat from Australia. I think this is exactly over target of what we're talking about, and it was from Chaos. He writes, "Just curious how I get the Slippery gear here in Australia. I can't seem to find it on a site." So I would say you're going to want to look at dealers. Right.
Yeah. Again, the power sports side and the distribution that we work with down there is Gas Imports.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So
Gas Imports.
Yes.
All right.
This is a newer opportunity for those guys to expand. So Chaos, if you look into Gas Imports, they could point you in the right direction. They have access to our products. Those guys are, or your local dealer will know who those guys are, and they can get you in the right direction there.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, I had warned you. I'm like, if we get some good super chats that are on topic, I'm not going to totally derail the train, but if we can get some good ones, I definitely want to bring them in, because if guys have questions about future product that or current product or sizing for that matter, I think now is the opportunity to come in and put Josh in the hot seat.
No. Go to the size charts page on the website. It's totally good. We work hard on those size charts. And if you find something wrong, then shoot me an email for sure.
Okay. So we talked a lot about how, Slippery and having a very tight parallel course with the racing side of things, as racing has seemed to, professional racing obviously still exists, and it is still bringing in youth racers and youth athletes, and we're seeing that, and that is always going to be the tip of the spear. We are seeing a massive gravitation of our industry towards the first-time buyer. We're looking at 4 years in a row where the first-time, never-before boater is the majority of new vehicle sales.
Sure.
And so, 52%, 54%, now it's 58%. And it's like, all right, well, these are very new people. These are green people, and they're coming in, and they're all shapes and sizes. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean here, but some of us who grew up on stand-ups and we kind of knew what the style was for a lot of riding equipment. But people who are like, hey, listen, I don't want a motorcycle. I don't live anywhere that snows. I want a toy. I'm going to grab a Sea-Doo, or I'm going to grab a Wave Runner. And they're jumping into personal watercraft as their new toy. I think we're seeing a real big shift in the core demographic of jet skiers. I mean, I'm kind of curious as to what, I'm the media guy. My job is to talk about this crap, but you guys have to respond to these changes. What goes through the planning meetings at Slippery?
Okay, the past 4, I think you said 4 seasons is the entry level rise. Are we talking about that Sea-Doo Spark? And I have to ask because this conversation just came up 3 days ago.
Okay, so Sea-Doo Spark celebrates 10 years this August. So Sea-Doo Spark already.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been 10 years. It's been a decade.
Okay.
In fact, I didn't know if you knew, but Sea-Doo is due for a redesign. I've gotten pretty hard confirmation that the redesign is going to be revealed this next month. And the Spark is going to be still very, very strong.
Yeah.
But those new vehicle sales, I would say 8 years ago, you know what? The Spark did its job. I got to give Sea-Doo credit. I got to give Sea-Doo credit where credit's due. The Spark did exactly what it was meant to do, and that was to get people to go, oh, maybe I'll consider a jet ski.
Yep.
And they jumped into it. Now, the nice thing is that the Spark also did its job in being a gateway to larger, nicer machines. Yep. Because the guy who goes out there with his old lady and he's in his 50s and he's on a Spark and he goes, this thing sucks. Or, I'm getting wet and this is a little too rowdy for me. But he looks across the lake and he sees some guy on a Cowie or a Yamaha, and he's just cruising, listening to music, and he goes, well, wow, where the hell did I get one of those? And so it's been the gateway to jump people into new machines.
Yep, right.
Full-size machines. And as new machines have become more and more softened in that they have GPS and they have Bluetooth sound systems and they've got heated hand grips and windshields and all these things that make them into a Honda Goldwing, you're starting to see more and more people kind of disengage from the wet and wild, rowdy motocross on the water and gravitate more towards I don't want to get wet.
Mm-hmm. Oh, geez. You covered too much ground right there.
Sorry.
Okay, so no, this is good. These are great things. Like I said, and literally 3 days ago, it came up as like, is Spark still the big thing for, at the entry level, right? Because, and I love how you said, hey, they did it was a great move because that is the gateway. It's the barrier to entry is low. Get into it, get moving. And your product choice, your model choice will evolve from there. And that is how our business works too. We are in a sense, I should say, kind of lockstep with it. Now, our product set, our pointed tip of the spear is Array Vest, Race John, Race Light Glove, Liquid Race Boot. You notice the word race is coming up a lot, right?
And everything, right.
Right. And this is the pointed tip of the spear. And this is also by volume. These are the units we sell. Here's the pointed tip of that. the bulk of what we sell, the bulk of the products that you're going to find globally from Slippery are more at the bigger part of that pyramid triangle, whatever,
Sure.
You can't say pyramid when you talk about selling things anymore, right? That's
Yeah.
a very bad term. But yeah,
All
more at the
right,
entry
listen here,
level.
Bernie Madoff. I don't want to hear any of
Right.
that.
Anyway, I got to sell you on some real estate. So no, no, so more at the entry level, more at that base price. So you're talking about more of our nylon vests, more on the affordable side of things. Nylon vests, our board shorts that we make, our rash guards, things that are like that are more usable across any type of watercraft you're on. Anything. If you're on a 3-seater with your family, these are more usable things for the everyman per se. As opposed to the more high-end, more race-oriented products. And that's how we bridge that gap, right? That's how we make sure that we have something for anyone. And also, like I said, that affordability of it. And that's why the Spark always comes up in these type of conversations. And again, for lack of a better reference point, it's the affordable ski is the Spark, and that's
Oh,
that customer that is just dipping their toe in the water, seeing if they like it before they go, oh, that guy's on a nicer machine there.
right.
With what I like to call creature comforts. And it's funny because, yeah, I mean, I race a lot of motocross and my bikes are carbureted. I don't need
Yep.
an injected machine, that kind of thing.
No.
So I mean, I can throw it back to the old school in a sense, but some of these creature comforts and some of these updates um, are a better way to do things. Sometimes you don't always need it. You don't need them. Let's face it.
Right.
You can deal with stripped down and still get some enjoyment and fun and the adventure of it all. But some of those creature comforts, hey, we're evolving in a sense to be able to do more and engage more with the environment.
Right.
I don't know. Do I think it needs a widescreen TV on the front of the thing and all this? No, but
Yeah, they got him. They got him.
I
No.
yeah, it's
It, trust
yeah,
me. Dude, people are like, dude, you're like broadcasting boomer vibes, and because I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't need this crap. I don't need that
right,
crap. Blah, blah, blah. And it's funny because I'll tell you, man, I really felt like I did a podcast where I apologized for like a half an hour. I'm like, I believe that I have blood on my hands because for 10 years I was like, oh, dude, these sound systems are awesome. And now I'm like, I don't want this crap. I don't
right.
want it talking to my phone. I don't want to be alerted if I get text messages. I don't want, dude.
It takes away from the environmental going on.
right, and
Yes,
and these guys are like, shut up, dude. You're an old fart. And I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm the old fart who's telling you to turn off all your crap and go out and ride and get wet.
And that's
Don't be
it's
afraid to fall off.
and like I said, I'm kind of a fence rider on this one because I can appreciate the enhancements that those technologies give. Hey,
Sure.
GPS tells you where you're going, tells you where you are, helps you figure out your run. If you're on a long haul, like you said, that's long haul is a pretty big thing these days. So that's awesome to see. But exactly what you said is, I don't want it pinging me with text messages while I'm trying to just enjoy the ride, and
Right.
so that's kind of that. It's up to the person. For me, it's up to the person. Do you
Yeah.
want to be digitally connected while you're trying to be in nature? I don't. But do
No.
I use it if I'm freaking lost? Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. You don't want it when you don't want it, and you want it when you need it. And
I'm a consumer. I want it now or not.
yeah, yeah. Well, the American side of it is don't tell me I can't have it.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I'll find someone who'll get it to give it to me.
Oh
I,
yeah.
I I just think it's interesting. You and I kind of chit chatted a little bit. Was the branching of the industry and going into like jet ski fishing, and like Sea-Doo came out of the gate in 2019 with a dedicated fishing Sea-Doo,
Yep.
and now they've got 3 tiers of jet ski of fishing skis. And Yamaha now has a fishing kit that you can plus any wave runner besides the stand up with their jet fish kit.
Saw that. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and Cowie's got a rack system that it has built-in rod holders. And it's like, okay, well, I guess we're going fishing now.
Right.
And it's the idea that it's like, well, if the fish aren't biting, at least I'm on a jet ski, uh, which is nice.
Yeah. Bad day
But
fishing's better than a good day at the office.
I agree.
That old,
Yeah.
chestnut.
So it's interesting because it's like, all right, well, we're seeing that, and then we're seeing a gravitation of people who are like, I want to bring an extra 25 gallons of gas, and I want to see how far I can take this damn thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm going to spend 12 hours or 13 hours on the water. We got a guy here in the chat, a good friend of mine named Billy. And we didn't announce that Billy was here. Billy is kind of our norm from Cheers. Every time Billy shows up, we all yell his name. But
Billy!
Billy's here. But never make the mistake of riding with Billy if you're not ready for the full day.
Nah.
Because that cat is on the water till Lake Patrol kicks you off. And it's interesting because it's like I've come to love that. And it's like, okay, hey, I'm going to put my time in today and I'm going to burn through as much freaking dinosaur bones as I humanly can. And it's like, all right, well, that's a whole new kind of riding. And so it's funny because I saw Paul's comment. Paul had made a comment just a second ago, but he's like, dude, it's age. And you're seeing a lot of guys who are jumping in older. It might be their retirement, it might be their outlet, and they don't want to ride a motorcycle. I made the joke about the Goldwing. It's like he doesn't want to throw his old lady on the back of a Goldwing and go to Solvang or something like that. But it's like, why don't we hit the water? Why don't we do Parker to the dam and back? Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so that kind of riding, which is an anathema to the type of stand-up riding that you and I grew up with, like, hey, let's throw a pair of 550s in the bed of my truck and go out to Lake Pyramid up in Valencia and go ride for, as long as there's ice in the cooler, we're good.
Yeah, right.
And then when we burn out of gas, we're done for the day. And that lasted maybe 4 hours. And that's how I grew up riding.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like, hey, dude, we're going to ride for 11 hours. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, right.
So I think it's not to say that one has died and this has replaced it. It's more like we've got so many different branches of the tree.
Yep.
And that's why I'm not saying, hey, Slippery, jump on that. But I hope that brands like you guys are able to go, hey, you know what? There might be segments of the market that we could jump on.
So this is it's kind of interesting. And once again, I would now I wish I had the vault here, to pull up the old catalogs, because the generation before me in the Slippery building had some of that foresight with what they called a splash suit, which was kind of like a dust suit or like an overcoat and pant type suit. They had stuff like that before. They had some fishing oriented stuff. I remember seeing in an old catalog where it was stuff that could work as utility, and there was like pictures of guys out there fishing and stuff like that. They did chase some of that stuff, which, like you said, has become more and more present.
It's kind of ahead of its time.
Sure, and that's the thing. It just didn't catch back then. But
I agree.
Neither did their foray into wakeboarding. I have a Slippery catalog with wakeboards in it. I opened it up. I'm like, it's freaking wakeboards in here, man. It's like wakeboards, towables, all that stuff. We still sell ropes. We sell them every day, so that's cool. Yeah. And then they also followed the why in the heck would you ever do it dry suit market. And if you need a dry suit, you know why.
I've got two of them.
See, and I'm not calling you people insane. I'm just saying when you have to break the ice to go ride, that's wow. So, but no. But I mean, so definitely in the history, in throughout all these years that Slippery has existed, there have been those times where the crew has sort of taken different directions, and I like how you said it kind of fractured, different sort of demographics within PWC
Right.
culture. So it's like which has some staying power. Which
I
one do you
agree.
put this investment behind, and you're good there, or 2 catalogs later you're like, I gotta burn it. There's no one.
Oh,
So it's kind of
100%.
yeah,
How do you maintain 80 SKUs in a catalog? And you're like, dude,
sure. That's the
we're,
crystal ball thing.
yeah, it
That's what I
is.
always tell my
Yeah,
development guys and my design guys. I'm like, hey, how's your crystal ball today? They're like, oh, what are you trying to make us do now? I'm like, well,
I know.
you
It's
know,
crazy. Yeah, I mean, unless you were able to be presented like absolute, like, okay, here's our market share, here's our market research, here's
yep,
everything. I think we can jump on X. Then then it's like, dude, we got to hustle because we don't want anyone to beat us to this.
sure.
Um, it's interesting because we are seeing. I mean, I can tell you right out of the gate is domestic U.S. fishing is personal watercraft fishing is picking up. It's a slow burn. I was joking earlier. It's like Australia, New Zealand, um, South Africa is massive. They have actually South Africa has the largest jet ski fishing tournament in the world, um,
I believe it.
which is horrifying because that's where you see all the breaching great white sharks.
Oh yeah.
Shark Week, where
Oh yeah.
freaking 21-foot great whites are jumping out of the water, and you're like, that's my nightmare.
These are some hearty people in South
Yeah,
Africa.
yeah, that's
They
something else.
I know many, I work with many, and man, they don't care. That's going
No,
on. They're like, yeah, that's part of our scene. I'm like, all
yeah,
right, I'm
yeah,
I'm good. I'm gonna hang out up
yeah,
here. Our white sharks are a little smaller in Southern California, so a little bit.
yeah, yeah. Okay, dude, that's so freaking gnarly. But I mean, it's hilarious to me because it's like, okay, well, jet ski fishing, and then it's like, okay, the older rider touring market. Well, I shouldn't say older, but I should say the touring market.
Yeah.
The touring market is the one that Yamaha and Cowie just dumped a lot into.
Hmm.
They invested a lot into the touring group. Well, who are the tours? These are the guys, like I was making jokes about, who go all day long and they're burning through gas, and maybe they are looking for a tour. When I say tour coat, I'm not talking the neoprene one that we all sit on, Crazy Horse zipped up going,
Yeah,
oh my
yeah. On
gosh, the
on the
wind
beach waiting for
sucks.
your moto. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Not that kind of tour coat, like that's the national tour, that's the racing
Yeah.
tour. But the tour, that would be like an all-weather windbreaker type of coat that wicks water.
Yes.
Um, and it's just, and I'm not trying to throw that kind of, like, here's what you should do, but there's market segments that are underserved and they're going elsewhere for product. Like you were saying, the early pioneers of Slippery were using all old, surfing junk that they were buying at the Frog House in Newport Beach,
Yep.
and sitting there going like, all right, what do you got? Well, I got a smoking deal over at In Flight and Seal, and Frog
Yep.
House and Newport's got stuff. Okay, what are we wearing today? And people are scrambling trying to find suitable material. In fact, I had one dude completely go apoplectic when I mentioned using snowmobile gear. And he's like, "Oh, I had and he gave some sob story, and then I was like, okay, and then he kind of flipped out. But anyway,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but regardless, it was like, hey, listen, where can I turn for this kind of product? And not to say, hey, Slippery, why don't you pony up $5 million in product development, and maybe in 3 years we'll see a new catalog. But I think we are watching a paradigm shift in the buyer market,
Yep. I think that's fair.
and I personally believe they're underserved.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. And like I said, and that's why I mentioned, looking at some of kind of going historically through the catalogs and seeing what had been produced before. So I'm not saying we're gonna make anything like that. I'm just saying
No,
we have, and if I wanted to, we could. So
well,
I'm gonna
I'll
leave.
tell
I'm
you.
gonna leave my answer at that.
No, no.
So,
Hey, listen.
if
If if
yeah,
at any time you guys get a wild hair and you say, hey, what can you tell us about X group? I'll dig
Right.
up whatever I can for you.
Thank you. Your insights are always super valuable. Obviously, you're.
Just whatever market stuff I can provide, I'll
Yep.
do it, because I want to equip the I mean, I want to equip all these guys with slippery gear
Yeah, for sure. No, appreciate that always. So.
because I'm a shill. Um, well, Josh, it's been an hour. I've worn you out.
Oh, wow, it has. Geez. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, what you hinted at it, but when do we expect a new catalog? When do the catalogs come out for the next season?
Next catalog, you're looking. So as I mentioned before, it's kind of a 2-year cycle.
Right.
So the next catalog you're going to see is going to be considered 2025, even though it
Okay.
will come out in 24.
All right.
And like I'd mentioned, one thing, and your customers know this full well, is the seasonality of the products and getting stuff when you need it.
Right.
Look for the 25 collection of slippery. We have plenty of the 23-24 product is in stock right now. So
Great.
Pretty much everything. I don't think you guys are going to have a hard time finding.
Yeah. Check out the
Um,
website. I'll bring it up again. Here's the product categories.
yep.
And that's just, you click on products and you get swarmed.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, plenty availability there. No worries. And then coming into the 25 season, we're going to be launching a lot earlier, actually, because
Oh,
again,
really?
the seasonality of it. And I probably shouldn't be saying this out loud, actually,
Oh,
but whatever. It's just making sure that you guys, you riders, get your stuff on time. You guys are able to get the stuff early season, before the season. So that's kind of a big change for us. So you're going to see all new graphics, all new colors, a few new products added to the lineup actually for 25. Yeah, we're looking at a much earlier launch this time around, this next time around. So,
okay.
yeah, it's just like I said, actually, you pointed out how kind of there's kind of a lot of different ways that people are going with their watercraft enjoyment these days. Our vein is definitely born of racing and stand-up scene and things like that. We've evolved with the sit-down scene. We've evolved with that entry level, those new customers, those new people that just want to learn about it. Get an entry level vehicle. We've got entry level product to get you started. And then when you figure out your direction, we've got more premium and more higher end offerings to really, hone what you're doing. I mean, that's what we're after, is just taking care of people on the water. So more to come.
Absolutely. I think one thing, and I've said this in reviews, and I kind of want to assuage any sort of fears that people might have. You did mention, it's like, well, hey, listen, there's a common thread in a lot of our products, and that's the word race. And I think the one thing that a lot of people get concerned about is like, well, I don't know what race implies. And 9 times out of 10, when we look at a race product and like the circuit glove, all right, that's your racing glove. All right. Well, what stuff is integrated into a racing glove that you might not find in a traditional glove? Well, it's got, I'm pointing at it and I should use my cursor, it's got the higher cut wrist and it's got a larger wristband. So you're getting that coverage up here, not so much down here. So
Right.
because you want coverage and protection in your wrist. So if you're doing aggressive riding, you're out in the ocean, you're out in rough water, you
Yep.
want that stable wrist. You want that protection. So a race glove, a circuit glove is going to give you that extra protection. You're also going to get the extra padding in the palm and breathability.
Yep.
So there's perforation there that's going to, because again, you're not only are your hands wet because you're on the water, but you're sweating.
Yep. Oh yeah.
That's going to wick, it's going to pull, and it's going to dry a lot faster than a traditional glove. And racing material, I jokingly say, I'm like, well, this is a California brand, and so they're thinking like Californians, and God help them. But it's they want to dry off, and they're like, hey, listen, it's going to be thin. It's going to be a thin wetsuit, or it's going to be a thin, breathable material.
Mhm.
So that's the kind of second skin material that we're talking about. I want to go back to the vest. I literally am trying to wrap up, and now I'm getting back into the product line.
Now you're making good points. Now we got to keep going.
Yeah, I know. It's like here I am selling this product on you guys. But the one thing you mentioned this, and I've had people ask me about this, and this is one of the things I like more than your front entry vest, and that is and I'm circling it here, is the absolute massive range of motion that you have in your shoulders and in your arms.
Yep.
It's not up here in your armpit and it's not on top of your shoulder. It's a huge, wide opening. And same thing for the neck. The neck is wide open.
Yep.
So it's not tight. It's not a tight collar. It's not a real wide band on your shoulders. And you have really big range of motion because, again, they're thinking, what do racers need?
Mm-hmm.
And so why I'm really excited about this vest and as in regards to a front entry vest is range of motion, breathability. That goes to the, being a race vest or that second skin. Let's go to the vest section. Okay, so here's the front entry surge vest. All right. And
also got abdominal segmentation in there for comfort, for flex to flow with the body.
Huge. Yep. I mean, that's even bigger range of motion and a larger neck.
Yep.
All right. But it's a front entry.
Mm-hmm.
Some people prefer a front entry. Some people don't. That's okay. That's fine. This one I liked in the back because not only is it segmented at the back, but it's segmented at the shoulder blades.
Yep.
That's unique. That's something unique.
It's fully range of motion, articulation, not full range of motion per se, but that articulation that you need. Yep.
So I like that. This one for all you guys with a Sea-Doo Fish Pro. That's that same olive.
There you go, right there. You'll notice the lower segmentation. It's comfortable to sit down.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. It's not gonna bunch up when you sit down.
30 years ago, everything was sheet good, like you're talking about, just the sandwich board talk. Because you were standing, didn't matter. But nowadays, with the advent of the sit down stuff too, it's got to be comfortable.
Yeah. No, I agree. And then, of course, there are people who don't like neoprene. I think they're crazy, but you guys do have a good a nylon vest. And the nylon vest, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't it have its own material for the inside as well? Or is it nylon like the outside?
It is nylon like the outside.
It is nylon like the outside because people didn't want. Some people don't like the feel of the perforated neoprene. So
correct. The Neos have multi-material construction throughout, depending on whether it's skin facing outward, the seal skin, things like that. So it's kind of a good mix in those Neos. The nylons are pure nylon through and through. They're very lightweight. They're actually quite comfortable for being in, more on the entry level side of things. Actually, it's funny. I use these hydro ones all the time, just as a throw on and go. If you're talking preference, no, I'm a Neo guy because I like the way that the Neo vests feel. Right. But these nylons, for being more on the entry level side of things, they get the job done. The functionality is there. It's a great piece. So,
well, what's also nice is the fact that it's cut long.
Right.
So it's not like one of these little, Gilligan's Island short little vests that, you're wearing a midriff. So
the old school ones. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
all right. Oh, here's the size chart. Okay, great. So
we have size charts, everyone.
You guys go up 4X?
Mm-hmm.
Do you really?
Gotta have something for everyone.
Yeah, you do.
And these hydros also go to youth and child sizes.
Okay.
And we've got a women's size chart for hydro as well. And we've got women right there in surge for Neo as well.
Yeah, you do.
So the ladies get options between nylon and Neo as well. The kids, hey, sorry, your folks are paying for it. You're getting nylon. So you're gonna grow out of it next year anyway, kid.
Exactly. Ain't that the truth? All right. Well, now I want to look at the size chart for the surge. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
You got triple X in the Surge.
Hey, there's a lot of people out there. We got to cover as many as we. No guarantee I'm going to cover everybody, but we do what we can.
Yeah. Now, obviously, these are the racier. The neoprene vests. You're looking at molds and patterns that are going to be okay. So yeah, the side entry is going to be maxed out at double X, which that makes sense because it's a racer.
Right.
So, yeah, but that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. So you can go maximum 2X, 3X, and then all the way to 4X on the Hydro.
Yes.
That's great. I didn't know you guys went so big.
Yeah, we, again, it's not just the stand-up racer guy anymore. It's the family. It's the parents, the kids, everybody. We've got them covered. So.
All right. Very cool. All right, now I'm going to say goodbye.
Well,
I added another 11 minutes. I'm sorry.
No, man. It's been great catching up. Kevin, the Watercraft Journal, you guys put out such a great product. And, I know you've got a pretty loyal fan base. I hear about it all the time. So we at Slippery certainly appreciate the work you guys are doing. And thanks for having me on. It's always fun. So,
dude, I love it. Again, I was joking. I'm like, the biggest thing that I like to offer people is a totally different perspective of the industry and how things are made, or, how they gauge the industry so that change can be made to adapt to the audience, and that the products that they want to use are displayed or introduced to these people.
Absolutely.
So Josh, thank you again. Guys, please thank Josh Shorter for coming on. We didn't do a lot of prep, and so this was and I think we pushed back a couple weeks because of different scheduling. So I want to thank you for playing musical chairs with our schedule. Guys, if you are interested, please go check out Slippery Wetsuits. It's the brand is Slippery, but the website is slipperywetsuits.com. Check out the catalog. This is the catalog that they've got for 23 and 24. Lots of colors, lots of sizes. They got vests for your dog. They got vests for your kids, boots, gloves, all sorts of riding gear. So if you are wearing the same worn out crap that's sun bleached and tearing at the seams, do yourself a solid and get some good, comfortable riding gear. You'll kick yourself for not doing it sooner.
Yep. Cool.
All right, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate it. Have a good night. Guys. We'll talk to you soon.